Forget everything you know about design. Then remember all of it, because we've already covered some things necessary to move on. What we covered in the last part of this course was how a visual hierarchy adds clarity and emphasis to the right parts of our design. But we all know design is a bit more involved than just hierarchy. We can also create consistency in our designs, and a great way to do that is with repetition. Repetition, Merriam-Webster defines this as the act or an instance of repeating. Merriam-Webster defines this as an act or an instance of repeating. Repetition is, in many ways, the perfect counterpart to visual hierarchy. We can use repetition to manage how users browse something, how they understand the design. This is really important for digesting all the information we put on a page. Look at these buttons. Some might say they're beautiful. Most would disagree. Each of these buttons has a different shape, a different color, a different size. It's a mess. Why? Because now someone has to do a ton of work to figure out that each of these elements is a button. They have to decode what each of them are. But if you repeat the same visual style, the user can understand at quick glance what they are. They're all buttons. And this doesn't just apply to buttons. This consistency, this repetition is huge for form elements. We can look at two examples here. One where the elements of the form are all over the place, inconsistent. Then we'll look at another. We're repeating the same visual style over and over, same shape and general layout. We're using repetition to create a clean and consistent visual style. Repetition, in these cases, reusing these visual patterns, it creates consistency in the buttons, and it creates consistency in these forms. What about headings? Navigating this content is a pain without consistency, but by repeating the heading styles, users can quickly understand how this information is organized. Repetition saves our brains from getting overwhelmed, and that's the point. It establishes patterns. Our brains love patterns, just like they love symmetry and balance. But there's an even more interesting concept here. Repetition sets the rules. By establishing consistency, we can break our rules and draw even more attention to something, like this button. It's different from the others. And breaking that pattern is what brings attention to it. A lot of designers, especially early on, think they're helping. By creating variation, they think they're increasing visual excitement. But it's so much more work for the brain to figure this out. Sometimes the best kind of design is the design that gets out of the way and leans into the idea of using repetition to create consistency. Amazon does this really well. Take a look at the products. They repeat the pattern over and over. They have the product image, the price, they tell you whether it has Prime shipping. They repeat the same exact pattern over and over. Imagine if each product got a different treatment. It's not so easy to figure out and compare these products. But because Amazon repeats these styles, it creates a visual consistency that's really effective. What about the Mac page we covered when we were talking about visual hierarchy? They don't just use visual consistency in the headings, they do it in the ways they let you interact with each of the products. Each product has two calls to action: learn more and buy. This doesn't change between the iMac and the MacBook Air, nor does it change between the MacBook Pro and the Mac Mini. And that's by design. They're blue and it's pretty clear they're actionable, but they kept the way you learn more about a product or buy a product consistent. What about BBC News? We're on the science page. This is a really solid example of not only visual hierarchy, the featured article gets significantly more visual prominence based on the size of its container and the size of the heading, but it also serves as a great example for repetition. Each article has an image, a headline, a brief thesis or summary, and at the bottom, the time since publication and the category. This consistency makes the homepage simple to browse, even though it's packed with tons of content. Even the next sections repeat that same basic style. The images and the headings are the same. They're located lower on the screen, and these don't have the same summaries or any of the additional information the above articles have. So with anything, it helps to ask this question. On this one element in our design, how many visual variations do we have? How many heading styles or variations of that type of content? By constantly scanning your design and being fully aware of reducing complexity, the more you can make your design functional and delightful. And that's repetition.